Ladies and gentlemen, tennis fans from around the globe, and every single proud Filipino watching right now, stop what you are doing. We need to talk about what just happened in New Zealand. We are not talking about a simple tennis match today. We are not talking about a standard day at the office for the WTA Tour. What we witnessed at the ASB Classic in Auckland was nothing short of a gladiatorial war. It was a collision of wills that left the entire tennis world stunned, left the stadium breathless, and left an entire nation, the Philippines, on the absolute edge of its seat, caught somewhere between heartbreak and overflowing pride. The headline is shocking, yes. The result is a jagged pill to swallow. But the story? The story is legendary. Eala, the 20-year-old Pinay tennis warrior, the fourth seed of the ASB Classic, the hope of millions. Today, she stepped onto court against China's Wang Xinyu, the 7th seed, in a semifinal showdown that was supposed to be a stepping stone, but turned into an epic, 3-set saga of pure human drama. Let's look at the raw numbers before we get to the emotion. The match lasted nearly 3 hours, 2 hours and 48 minutes of grueling, bone-crushing intensity. The final scoreline reads 7-5, 5-7, 4-6. On paper, that is a loss for Eala. On paper, Wang Xinyu advances to the final. But if you watch this match, if you saw the fire in Eala's eyes, if you saw the way she refused to die when her body was failing her, you know that defeat is the wrong word for what happened today. This was a battle of heart, a battle of courage, a battle of absolute, unadulterated purity of determination. Let's rewind. Let's go back to the very first ball. Because to understand the shock, you have to understand the start. The match began, and it looked like a disaster. It looked like a nightmare scenario. Eala, perhaps feeling the weight of the occasion, perhaps feeling the pressure of being the country's lone flag bearer at this level, came out flat. The rhythm wasn't there. The timing was off. Wang Xinyu, experienced and powerful, pounced immediately. She used the weight of her ground strokes to bully Eala around the court. She controlled the pressure points. Before we could even blink, before the crowd could even settle into their seats, Eala was buried. She was down 0-4 in the first set. Then she was down 1-5. It looked over. It looked like a blowout. The critics were already typing their tweets. The doubters were already shaking their heads. A 1-5 deficit in a WTA semifinal against a player of Wang's caliber? That is usually a death sentence. But right there, right at the precipice of humiliation, something snapped inside Eala. The fire flared up. It was visceral. It was like watching a lion backed into a corner, realizing that the only way out was through. Suddenly, the body language changed. The shoulders squared. The grunts got louder. And then the tennis became transcendent. Eala didn't just break back. She unleashed a hurricane. She reeled off 6 games in a row. 6 consecutive games. It was a masterclass in grit. She was hitting killer returns that clipped the lines. She was blasting sharp forehand winners that left Wong stranded. She was chasing down balls that had no business being returned. From a 1-5 deficit, looking absolutely dead in the water, the Filipina sensation stormed back to steal the first set 7-5. The momentum shift was so violent, so sudden, it felt like the air had been sucked out of the stadium. Auckland was in shock. The Philippines was roaring. But this is where the drama truly begins. Because tennis, my friends, is a cruel theater. Enter the second set. The intensity didn't drop. It skyrocketed. The rallies were longer. The hitting was harder. Eala carried that momentum. Played with composure that betrayed her 20 years. She broke Wong. She held serve. She maneuvered herself into a winning position. She was leading 5-3 in the second set. She was serving for the match. Let that sink in. She was one service game away from the final. One service game away from her first shot at a singles title this year. She even held a match point. It was right there. The victory was sitting on her racket strings. The history books were open, pen in hand, ready to write her name. But Wang Xinyu is a world-class competitor for a reason. The Chinese star refused to fold. With her back against the wall, staring down elimination, Wang found a reserve of fighting spirit that we have to applaud. She saved the match point. She broke Eala's serve. And suddenly, the roller coaster plunged again. The momentum swung back. The emotion swirled. Wong took the second set 7-5. Now we are level. 1 set all. 2 hours in. And then came the third set. The set that broke hearts but built a legend. You could see the toll the match was taking. The physical weight of those long, punishing rallies was piling up. Early in the decider, disaster struck. Eala's movement slowed. She grimaced. She was forced to call a medical timeout. We learned it was a hip problem, her body screaming in protest against the intensity of the war she was waging. She was down 0-3, then 1-5. Tears were visible in her eyes. You could see the pain etched on her face. Not just the physical pain of the hip injury, but the emotional agony of knowing she had been 1 point away from winning, and now she was 5 points away from losing. Most players would have retired. Most players would have shaken hands, protected their bodies for the Australian Open, and walked away. Eala is not most players. She returned to the court, limping slightly between points, but sprinting like a gazelle during them. She refused to give up. She fought for every single rally. She chased every ball until her lungs burned. She clawed her way back from 1-5 to 4-5. She made Wong earn it. She forced a Chinese star to come up with the best tennis of her life, just to close the door. Eventually, Wang Xinyu took the set 6-4. She took the match. But as the two warriors embraced the net, the applause in Auckland wasn't just polite. It was thunderous. It was an acknowledgement that they had just witnessed a classic. This is not a simple defeat. This is a statement. This is the story of a girl who became a woman on the court today. From the 0-4 comeback to the missed match point to the injury-riddled final stand. This was a full spectrum of sport. Heartbreak, hope, agony, pride. So buckle up. We're going to dive deep into every angle of this match. We're going to analyze the tactics, the mental fortitude, the implications for the Australian Open, and why the entire world is now looking at Eala not just as a prospect, but as a dangerous, elite contender. This is a deep dive. Let's go. All right, let's peel back the layers of this match. To understand the magnitude of what happened in Auckland, we have to look beyond the scoreboard. We have to look at the how and the why. We need to deconstruct the 3 distinct phases of this battle. The resurrection, the missed opportunity, and the last stand. The resurrection, anatomy of a comeback. Let's start with that first set. When we analyze matches at the WTA level, a 1-5 deficit is statistically almost impossible to recover from, especially against a seed like Wang Xinyu. Wang has a heavy game. She hits flat, hard, and deep. In the first 5 games, Eala was reacting, not dictating. She was standing too far behind the baseline, allowing Wang to open up the angles. But the adjustment Eala made at 1-5 was tactical genius, combined with sheer guts. We saw her step inside the baseline. She stopped waiting for the ball to drop and started taking on the rise. This took time away from Wang. Suddenly, the Chinese player who had been dictating the rhythm was being rushed. Eala unleashed 6 games in a row. This isn't just about hitting winners. It's about mental dominance. To win 6 games in a row against a top-tier opponent requires you to be perfect on serve and lethal on return. We saw Eala utilizing her lefty forehand, that hook shot that pulls opponents off the court, to devastating effect. She was creating angles that Wang simply couldn't cover. This period of the match, from 1-5 down to 7-5 up, was arguably the best tennis Eala has played in the last 12 months. It showed a Grand Slam level ceiling. It proved that when she is firing, she can blow top 50 players off the court. The missed opportunity, the mental game. Now, we have to address the elephant in the room. The second set, the match point. In professional tennis, the fear of winning is a very real psychological phenomenon. When Eala was up 5-3, serving for the match, the dynamic shifted. Wang, having nothing to lose, started swinging freely. Eala, having everything to lose, tightened up. It's a matter of millimeters. On match point, a forehand that was landing on the line in the first set suddenly lands an inch long. A serve that was hitting the corner suddenly catches the tape. We saw Eala's maturity, but we also saw her youth. The inability to close out that match point will sting. It will keep her up at night for a few days. But, and this is crucial, this is the kind of scar tissue that forms a champion. You have to lose these matches to learn how to win them. Every legend, Serena, Nadal, Federer, has a story of a heartbreaking loss where they couldn't close the door early in their careers. This is part of the curriculum of the tour. Wang Xinyu deserves immense credit here. She didn't wait for Eala to miss. She took the game. She showed why she is ranked where she is. She played the big points with ice in her veins, forcing the error rather than waiting for it. The last stand, physicality versus spirit. The third set brings us to the most concerning and yet most inspiring aspect, the physical conditioning and the injury. The hip issue is significant. Tennis is a brutal sport on the hips, the constant changing of direction, the loading on the open stance forehand. When Eala took that medical timeout, the momentum was completely gone. Being down 0-3 in a decider with an injury usually leads to a 0-6 set. But this is where the Pine warrior spirit became the story. Eala was fighting two opponents, Wang Xinyu and her own body. To come back from 1-5 to 4-5 in the third set, while visibly hampered, is irrational. It defies logic. It speaks to a hunger that you cannot teach. Coaches can teach a backhand. They cannot teach the refusal to surrender when you are in pain. The fans online went wild during this stretch because they weren't just watching a tennis match anymore. They were watching a human struggle. They were watching someone refuse to accept their fate. Even though she lost 4-6, that comeback in the third set sent a message to the locker room. Eala does not quit. If you want to beat her, you have to drive a stake through her heart, because she will not give it to you. The bigger picture, 2025 context and 2026 outlook. We need to contextualize this result against her recent history. Remember the narrative of 2025? It was a year of highs and lows. We saw her break the top 100, a historic milestone. We saw the first WTA 125 title. We saw the SEA Games gold. But we also saw injuries. We saw the solo pressure being the only Filipino flag bearer on the major tour. We saw early eliminations that frustrated fans. This Auckland run flips the script for the start of 2026. Yes, she lost in the semis. But look at who she beat to get there. Look at the level she sustained for 3 hours. This was her 5th career semifinal. That is consistency. Crucially, this performance gives her massive momentum going into the Australian Open. We know she is in the main draw. This match against Wong was the perfect preparation. It was high intensity. It was against a hard-hitting opponent, and it tested her fitness. If, and it's a big if, the hip injury is minor and just a result of fatigue, she goes into Melbourne as a dangerous floater. No seed wants to see Eala in the first round after seeing what she did in Auckland. This performance also has a massive impact on Philippine tennis. In the Philippines, basketball is religion, but Eala is carving out a cathedral for tennis. Despite the defeat, this match was a victory for the sport's visibility. It trended globally. Highlights went viral. It showed that a Filipino athlete can stand toe-to-toe with the giants of the sport. It inspires the next generation of athletes in Manila, in Cebu, in Davao, proving that height and power can be neutralized by heart and speed. The media is calling this a gutsy and entertaining clash. That's the polite way of saying it was a brawl. For Wang Xinyu, it's a ticket to her 2nd WTA final and a shot at her first singles title. For Eala, it's a lesson. She proved she has the shots. The 6-in-a-row streak in the first set is proof of concept. She proved she has the heart. The third set comeback is proof of character. The only thing missing now is a finishing instinct, the ability to slam the door when it's 5-3 in the second. And that comes with time. That comes with experience. As we wrap up this coverage, let's take a moment to look at the reaction. The dust has settled in Auckland. The crowd has gone home. But the noise on social media is deafening. The reaction from the fans is mixed, but is overwhelmingly full of pride. Yes, there is regret. There is the what if. What if she converted that match point? What if the hip hadn't flared up? There is a sting of a wasted opportunity, and that sting is valid. It hurts because we know how close she was. It hurts because we know she was good enough to win today. But overshadowing that regret is admiration. Genuine, deep-seated admiration. Comments are flooding in from all over the world, not just from Filipinos. Tennis analysts are praising the quality of the rallies. They are noting the stability Eala showed under intense pressure. For many, Eala's comeback in the first set, rising from the ashes of a 0-4, 1-5 deficit, felt like watching a Grand Slam veteran at work. It gave the fans a glimpse of the future. It wasn't just a semifinal, it was a revelation. The story of Eala is becoming clear. It is not a story of overnight success. It is a story of resilience. It is a story of heartbreak leading to bigger hope. Think about the road she has traveled to get here. The lonely nights on tour. The pressure of carrying a nation's expectations on 20-year-old shoulders. The injuries that have tried to derail her. The critics who question her consistency in 2025. In this Auckland run, she took all of that, all the doubt, all the pressure, all the pain, and she used it as fuel. She showed us that she belongs here. She showed us that the gap between her and the top 50 is non-existent on her best days. The moments that hurt today, the missed match point, the tiredness in the third set, these are the fires that forge true legends. You cannot buy this kind of experience. You have to live through it. You have to feel the pain of letting a match slip away so that the next time, when you are up 5-3, you don't hesitate. You strike. For the Philippines, the Pinoy pride is intact. In fact, it is stronger than ever. Social media feeds are filled with praises for her fight. They are celebrating her ability to come back even after falling in Auckland. She said she felt like she had a home court advantage because of the strength of the cheers and support from the Filipino community there. That support is global. It transcends borders. From the lows of 2025 to the spectacular semifinal run of 2026, the message is crystal clear. Believe again. Believe in the process. Believe in the country's ability to produce world-class talent. This is not the end of the road for Eala. This is not a stop sign. This is merely a speed bump on a highway that leads to greatness. Hopefully, when we look back at her career 10 years from now, we will see this match in Auckland as a pivotal chapter, the moment she learned exactly how tough she needs to be. The question now is not whether she can compete with the best. We know she can. The question is not whether she has the talent. We saw the shots. The question is simply, how high can she fly? She heads to Melbourne now for the Australian Open main draw. She carries the bruises of this battle, but she also carries the knowledge that she pushed the top seed to the absolute brink. She carries the momentum of a fifth career semifinal. And above all, she carries the pride of a nation that will never, ever stop cheering for her. This was a defeat on the scoreboard, but in the hearts of fans, it was a victory of the spirit. Keep your heads up, Team Eala. The season has just begun. The Australian Open awaits. And if this match was any indication, the world better be ready for what Eala is about to bring. This has been your deep dive analysis. Thank you for watching. We will see you in Melbourne.